What if I told you that one of America's most loved Christian singers disappeared from fame overnight? Not because of scandal, not because of failure, but because something supernatural happened to him, something that led him straight to Islam. This is the real, mysterious, emotional story of the night Allah guided a broken singer through a stranger who might not have even been human. The night a Christian singer disappeared and returned as a Muslim. Elias Monroe had sung on some of the biggest stages in America, a name that once echoed in the heart of every Christian concert hall, a man whose voice could make people cry, whose lyrics were written with honesty and whose melodies touched souls. But behind the perfect smile and the loud cheers stood a heart breaking quietly, slowly, painfully, and he didn't know why. He was a successful Christian singer with millions of followers. Yet something deep inside him felt empty, like a hollow cave, where his voice echoed back with questions he didn't understand. And the night everything changed was the night he was supposed to receive the Golden Dove Award in Nashville, Tennessee. But instead he found himself walking alone in the cold, dark, silent street outside the arena after sneaking out the side exit, because the applause felt meaningless, because the stage lights felt too bright, because the world felt too fake. And because somewhere deep in his chest was a whisper saying, "There is more than this." And that whisper frightened him, haunted him, pushed him to look for answers he had ignored for years. That night, as he walked past a closed cafe, his eyes fell on an old man sitting on the curb feeding a stray dog with a smile so peaceful that Elias felt something unusual, as if calmness itself was sitting there wearing a worn-out jacket and holding a small box of biscuits. The man looked up and said softly, "You look lost, son." And Elias didn't know why, but he sat beside him and whispered, "I feel like I'm falling apart." And the man smiled again and said words Elias never forgot. "Peace comes when you stop worshiping the noise and start listening to the truth." And when Elias asked what truth he meant, the man simply replied, "The truth your soul already knows." And before Elias could ask more, the old man stood up, patting the dog, and walked away into the misty night as if he was never there. And Elias felt like he had just spoken to someone who knew his heart better than he did himself. Days passed, but those words chased him like a melody stuck in the back of his mind. And for the first time in his career, Elias canceled his tour, ignored his manager's angry calls, and drove across the country with nothing but a backpack and a notebook where he wrote lyrics he didn't dare share with anyone. Lyrics full of longing for something he couldn't understand. One morning, while in Detroit, he walked into a small bookshop because it reminded him of his childhood. And while browsing through shelves of philosophy and religion, he felt his hand stop on a worn book with a green cover titled The Heart's Journey to God. And inside it was a bookmark with a handwritten note. "Peace is in surrender. Keep searching." The handwriting looked strangely familiar, but he couldn't place it. He bought the book and read it endlessly. And for the first time, he found verses from the Quran quoted inside it. Verses about mercy, forgiveness, hope, and the oneness of God. And those verses didn't feel foreign. They felt like home, like a voice he had been trying to hear his whole life. Still confused, Elias walked out of the bookshop with the book in his hand and saw across the street an old mosque with a faded sign reading Masjid al-Rahmah. And something inside him pulled him toward it. So he crossed the road and entered, expecting to feel out of place, but instead he felt an indescribable calm the moment he stepped on the soft carpet. The imam, a gentle middle-aged man named Sheikh Karim, greeted him warmly and invited him to sit. And Elias asked him the question he had been carrying for weeks. "Why do Muslims look so peaceful?" And the imam smiled gently and replied, "Because they know exactly who they belong to." And those words hit him like a wave. They spoke for hours about God, faith, prophets, purpose, and what it means to submit not to people, not to fame, not to emotions, but to the one who created the heart itself. And for the first time, Elias cried, not from sadness, but from relief, as if every tight knot in his chest finally loosened. He began visiting the mosque regularly in secret, learning Islam slowly, privately, cautiously, until one evening he heard the call to prayer for the first time. Not on YouTube, not from a speaker, but live, echoing through the empty street. A sound so hauntingly beautiful that his heart froze. and he felt tears falling before he understood why, because something inside him whispered, "You know this is true," and he couldn't fight it anymore. Later that night, he sat with Sheikh Kareem and said with shaking hands, "I want to know God the way you do." And the Imam placed his hand gently on his shoulder and said, "Then say it from your heart. There is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger." And the moment Elias repeated those words, he felt a weight lift from his soul, a warmth spread across his chest, and for the first time in his life, he felt alive, whole, real, like he had finally stepped into the truth he had been searching for his entire life. But his journey wasn't without trials. When the news broke that the famous Christian singer Elias Monroe had embraced Islam, the media exploded. Fans called him a traitor, his label dropped him overnight, and his closest friends walked away, leaving him with silence. But in that silence, he discovered something greater than applause. He discovered prayer, he discovered peace, he discovered Allah. One night, while praying Tahajjud alone, he asked Allah to guide him to his new purpose. And soon he felt inspired to write again, but this time not for fame, not for awards, but for healing hearts. And he released his first nasht, The Heart That Found Its Home, under a new Muslim name, Elias Noor, and it went viral across the world, touching millions who felt his sincerity through every word. But the mystery that remained unsolved in his heart was the identity of the old man who had spoken to him that night in Nashville. The man who said, "Listen to the truth your soul already knows," because whenever he tried to find him, no one in the city had seen him, no security camera recorded him, and the spot where he sat no longer had any trace of him, not even the stray dog. One night, after performing at a charity event in New York, Elias walked out alone into the quiet street and whispered into the cold air, "Who are you? Why did you appear that night?" And suddenly a man wearing the same old jacket stepped out from the shadows, smiling the same peaceful smile, and Elias froze, not in fear but in shock, as the man came closer and said softly, "I was sent to guide you to the door, but you were the one who walked through it." And before Elias could speak, the man placed his hand on his chest and said, "Never forget, Allah chooses hearts that are sincere, even when the world misunderstands them." And then he walked away and disappeared into the passing crowd. And Elias knew he wasn't just an ordinary man. He was an angel in disguise, a mercy from Allah sent to save a heart drowning in noise. Today, Elias Noor spends his life spreading Islam through songs of peace, visiting prisons, helping the homeless, healing broken souls. And when people ask him why he left fame, he smiles and replies, "Because I found something better. Allah gave me a new life." And his story continues to touch hearts across the world, reminding everyone that guidance comes in mysterious ways, and sometimes the most lost hearts are the ones Allah brings closest to him. If this story touched your heart, imagine how many others are searching for truth just like Elias. Share this video right now. It could be the reason someone finds Allah today. Support Deen in Minute so we can bring more life-changing Islamic stories every week. Don't forget to like, comment, La ilaha illallah, and subscribe to help spread the light of Islam. May Allah reward you with endless barakah. Ameen.